Are you out of your mind? I spent 30 years in the business and I obsess over this every single freaking minute of the day. And I wrote a book on it, right? I predicted the future. You know, I made $500 million.
The Bitcoin price crashed all the way down to sub 50,000 and then it recovered within 1 week back to over 60,000. That's where we are sitting right now. And obviously during that last week, the bears came out of their holes once again, talking about the big crash, talking about triple tops, talking about the bull market being over. And that's what we are going to look at in today's video and today's market update to see where we are standing with the market, also looking at altcoins, and we will discuss whether there will be an altcoin season or not. So make sure to stay tuned all the way. Hey everyone, it's the Patient Hodler coming at you with this crypto market update. Very quick update here from my side. And if you enjoy these updates, then let me know by smashing up the like button so that I can do more updates for you guys. And let's jump right in with the charts here. So we're seeing that the weekly close is about to get in 9 hours and 45 minutes from the point of making this video, and we're just sitting under crucial support that could be overhead resistance here. And I want to be very clear, we have seen this huge sell-off. We have seen a lot of strength coming in here from the buyers, so look at the super long wick. And I think there are a couple of things here that are very interesting in the structure. So first of all, depending on the time frame that you're looking at, you either have this down-falling channel, basically, that is marked with the white lines. You have this support that has been built out during some time, but it is not super strong as it has been broken twice. But now we're sitting under the support and we're trying to get back above. So this is very important. And then on the monthly chart, if we are switching the chart up here, we also see the importance of this bull flag, and this depends on how the month will close, so we need to be patient. But basically we are sitting under this at the moment and we don't want to close under this. So ideally we want a close above 62,400, roughly 62,000, so that this candle can close within and that we have this bull flag in play. And actually all of the candles that have been forming, they all closed, as you can see here, if I zoom that a little bit out, they all closed within this bull flag. So on the monthly, this is very important. But on the weekly, first of all, what we can see is that we are closing under these two crucial resistance lines, which could imply that we could just have, before we're closing in that again, another drop off here, somewhere in this, either in this channel or even outside of this channel. The market seems to be very uncertain at the moment what is going to happen next. We have uncertainty regarding the elections, which will carry on besides this election cycle, but we also have uncertainty about monetary policy. We saw that when Japan announced to raise interest rates for the first time in 17 years, and subsequently the Nikkei saw its biggest crash since 1987. This is what happened here, and actually that is this trajectory into this week. And then when market makers basically said that they will react accordingly to not let this happen, then the market suddenly recovered. So we're really at the hands right now of these monetary policies, and you can see bigger strengths. What we also can see is that we, on a more macro level, we have a low here in this correction, and then another pump, and all of this just forming a higher low at the moment. So we have not been coming back to 38,000 or something like that to really form like a Bart Simpson pattern, you know, something like this, where you crash down here and you have a Bart Simpson head or something like that. No. We actually have buyer strength coming in hard here. So let's look a little bit more what is going to happen on a macro scale, and then discuss if our cycle together with altcoin cycle is intact. So this crash, and you can see here a volatility that is also behind the screen, but important stuff you can see up here. So we have 3 big crashes in the last years since 2000. I don't know, the biggest crashes since the millennium switch. And we can see that Bitcoin is just hovering around 60,000, as I just showed you, despite having the biggest volatility crash since COVID and since the Lehman Brothers. These are the two ones that we saw, right? So this year is our crash that we had right now. So all the other market uncertainties and crashes, they are minor, very, very minor compared to what happened here. And usually what happened at all of these crashes is that a major financial stimulus hit the market right after. And that's also what we can expect right here. And if we're looking at the US debt, which is the major indicator on what's going to happen in the market, we know that we're piling on billions of US dollars every day in debt in the US, and that something needs to happen because this debt is rising faster when interest rate is high. So there are two means of getting rid of this debt. Lowering the interest rate to make it rise slower, and then also increasing money printing and stimulus to reduce the number of debt in general. We know that this will never be erased to zero, but it will be stalled and prolonged into the future by quantitative easing, which will make then in the consequence all markets rise as the monetary supply is just expanding like crazy, which, if you remember, we saw after the COVID crash as well, when there was massive stimulus coming into the economy by stimmy checks to the regular people that aped it into crypto, but also by better conditions for economy to take out loans, by lowering interest rates for everyone to take out loans, by buying back quantitative easing by the central bank's balance sheet. So we see this clock is just going nuts at the moment. The interest rates is higher than the military spending, which you see, which you can't see here, but here's the military spending. The interest rate is almost the same value as this. So which means that to service this, they have to print about $1 trillion just to service the yearly spending on the interest rate. So where are we though in the cycle, right? And here's where the bears are calling the market cycle is over. But if you look carefully, you see like this was our first cycle, and this was our second cycle, our third cycle. So every cycle moves a little bit differently than the other. And now we have dropped off to deviate a little bit from this previous cycle, so from the 2016 cycle, and deviate also a little bit from our last cycle. But look at the blip here, this bump and then crash from our last cycle, and look what we just formed here. Doesn't it look similar? And look what we formed here. So these things happen, like a little pump and then break. But imagine selling your Bitcoin and your other crypto on a hunch that this time will be different when you have these three charts from the previous 12 years or 12 or more years. This is what the bears are doing and trying to convince other people at the moment to sell off their Bitcoin, right? So we have this trajectory as a comparison, and if you see that even if we would go a little bit sideways, a little bit upwards for the next 2 months, we would be absolutely on track to then experience this major run up that happens every cycle because of what we have just discussed before. Now here we also see that a little bit, we have been getting done with the slow part, and now there is the fast part happening, which is the Parabolic Bull Run, phase 2. And we are just on the verge, depending on 1-2 months difference, it doesn't matter. It always takes a little bit of time until quantitative easing effects hit the market. But we can see that it will probably happen throughout the next 12 months. Now, a little bit easier to describe all that is the 500-day rule in the charts. So you take the halving and you buy 500 days before the halving, and you sell 500 days after the halving. So we can see that every time, had you followed this strategy, it wouldn't have been exactly the bottom, but it would have been close enough. So you would have bought here or here or here, right? Somewhere in here. And it could be really this before the large drop. It could be somewhere here, but you would have bought in this 500 days roughly before, and you would have sold somewhere here, right? On the upper side. So this trade is good enough. Now, I'm not saying to trade your Bitcoin, but what goes along with it is the rise of the altcoins, which are a fast lane to get more Bitcoin out of this market. So even though that you could technically sell your Bitcoin at some of these points, you could also hold it throughout all of this time, and you would make tremendous returns, thousands of % of returns, right? So I'm not incentivizing anyone to really follow the strategy of buying and selling, but you could also take this as a strategy of buying and hodling, and every time you come back here to such a point, you piled up money and you buy more, right? So this could, the buy and hodl strategy would still improve with this mechanism of minus 500 to 500. It would be a trade of 1,000 days. Like every 1,000 days, you would basically make a trade, right? So you would every 1,000 days you have one buying point, right? Or you would just keep buying for 500 days into the halving, hold, and then see if you go again, right? But anyways, there is a reason, and I think it's a good explanation by Michael Saylor for why we should hodl and not trade like in the day-to-day and week-to-week trades, which I will put in here for you to watch. It's only 2 minutes.
Like if you roll the clock back to 2007, Steve Jobs invents the iPhone. And, you know, people thought, oh, it's a toy. By 2009, the iPhone's got an app store. And if you understood anything about software, the iOS is a new operating system, and it's going to be its own ecosystem, at least as important as the web. And it's going to spawn an entire new generation of applications, right? And the mobile wave is responsible for what, like $5 trillion, $5 to 10 trillion dollars of wealth over the next decade. Can you imagine someone sitting around saying, oh, I get mobile device technology, and you're trying to time the market in Apple stock in 2011? Like you're buying and selling Apple stock in 2011. I'm like, you want to shake. I'm like, are you out of your mind? I'm trading Facebook stock back and forth between $8 a share and $4 a share and $12 a share. And you just want to do this. Like, do you not understand that one day every single person on the planet is going to have one of these things in their pocket, and it's going to go up by a factor of 100, and you're trying to like trade Apple stock between $1.25 and $1.17 and bragging about how you bought it at $1.25 and sold it at $2.11? And have you figured out the consequences of being short the share if it goes up by $100? Like the amount, like, are you out of your mind?
So what we just heard was that also Michael Saylor is seeing the long-term trade that we just described. But for us small people, it's a little bit more different to accumulate the big numbers of Bitcoin in comparison to the large asset managers, the wealthy people in the world, right? So you need at least some speedboat to move a little bit faster than Bitcoin. And I think the speedboat could be altcoins, right? And there is a lot of rumors at the moment that altcoin season might not happen. And I will get into this a little bit later. But let's look first at whether altcoins and when they are going to take off. So this is Bitcoin dominance. And we see that since 1.5 years, Bitcoin dominance is steadily on a rise. It has never been down, basically. There are only these small corrections in Bitcoin dominance, but then a recovery right after. And many people on the internet, they're telling you since, I don't know, here or somewhere else, like here, that this is altcoin season, this is altcoin season. It's not. Bitcoin has put just another all-time high, or cycle high, better, of roughly getting to 58% in Bitcoin dominance, right? That means that people are buying Bitcoin at let's say at a faster and bigger allocation than altcoins, meaning that the share in total market cap of crypto is higher in Bitcoin every time than it is in the altcoins, meaning altcoins are losing to Bitcoin, meaning all that trajectory, it would have been better on average to be in Bitcoin than in an, let's say, in an equally allocated ETF on all altcoins. Yes, there are altcoins that have an outperformance against Bitcoin, but overall, with all altcoins together, Bitcoin is outperforming them. And there will be an end to this at some point. And that is when people are moving out of Bitcoin and getting into altcoins. And then we expect such a trajectory. It could already start somewhere in September. Maybe it will be October. Maybe it will be November. Who knows, right? We don't know. We could just hit our head. We could wick up here when Bitcoin does a big rally. But at some point, Bitcoin dominance will collapse because people move out of this. Now, the argument of many altcoin bears and Bitcoin maxis is that this time is different. You always have to be careful when someone says this time is different. And the argument is as follows. Institutions are buying Bitcoin and maybe Ethereum, but they are not buying altcoins, right? And therefore, the big money is flowing into Bitcoin, but it's not going to be taken out of Bitcoin and put into altcoins. Therefore, altcoins will not see the pumps and will not fly. And I think this is it's a misconception, and it's also misinformation in my opinion. Because first of all, institutions are buying Bitcoin and Ethereum. And by putting money into it, they lift up the profit-taking potential of everyone that is already in Bitcoin since 15 years. Since 15 years or since 10 years or since 5 years and even since the last year. They are lifting up this profit-taking potential, and all of these people, they are not institutions. They are wealthy people, they are non-wealthy people, retail, whatever, hodlers that have already seen a cycle and that know that altcoins are the speedboat. So they can take profit on what institutional investors are putting in and go into altcoins. The only player in the market that is restricted of getting into all altcoins are institutions. But also institutions know that Ethereum at some point will fly. So they might roll some of the Ethereum, some of the Bitcoin ETF profits into the Ethereum ETF and lift up even more whoever is in Ethereum. Now all the Ethereum whales in the market that are not institutions suddenly have exponentially more money, and they are looking for alternatives. And there is also already signs that there will be ETFs and trusts on altcoins. For example, we saw that Grayscale was putting up an AI altcoin trust, right? So there is means for institutions to get into other coins. And even if it's not the institution, the wealthy players, they will look after Ethereum had its big, massive ETF rally. They will look to get into other altcoins. And it's already starting. Look at this news, for example. Brazil greenlights Solana ETF, and Solana surges to record level against Ethereum, which means Solana is outperforming Ethereum just through these nodes. This thing didn't even start trade yet. So the trading has to start, and this development will also happen in the US, because now that Ethereum has an ETF, there's no reason why a Solana, for example, shouldn't have an ETF. And if the asset managers in the US are recognizing that they can find more profits, like market profits and so on, also with Solana, then probably there will be a Solana ETF. And then you already have two big altcoins, Ethereum and Solana, and also what's in the trust in terms of AI that can outperform. And this is enough liquidity, enough money to drop into the altcoins to then make altcoins fly and have people to ape in massive amounts of money and liquidity into the altcoins, which means that very likely the altcoins are going to have their next leg up very soon. And it's funny because we have been predicting this channel quite a while here on this YouTube channel. And now we see that also we had this massive sell-off in altcoins. Altcoins got completely wrecked against Bitcoin, right? Against Bitcoin and also against the US dollar, but they recovered very well. And now they're sitting at this resistance, and it seems they are actually closing above resistance on the weekly, and they could manage to come back up in this channel and continue to move in this downward sloping channel. So if we were to close like this, this would be very, very bullish for altcoins. And you can see what happens if we would go up to break out of this channel. We can expect a massive rally for the altcoins. Subsequently, we will see how long this will take. I mean, this is 1 week. This can take out at least into September also, when we expect Bitcoin to do better than it does today. So all of the August, in my opinion, is still a good zone to pack bags for this massive rally. And I am convinced, I cannot promise, but I am convinced that it will come. And maybe as a last thing, we will look here at retail. Look at how retail is behaving. So the blue line is the interest in Bitcoin on Google Trends. And we saw that when Bitcoin rallied a little bit more into almost 69,000 before it crashed, actually retail interest came back. So the moment that we break all-time high and really go on price discovery for Bitcoin, I bet that retail is going to come in massively, looking to take part in this rally with fear of missing out. And the same goes for the altcoins. Altcoins had a little blip up, but no one cares yet. Altcoins are not in the picture. It's Bitcoin season, and it continues to be Bitcoin season until we see the Bitcoin dominance fall off and people realize that altcoins are about to make, or that they're already making, 10x's or something like that, and then they want to come in. So they, as always, retail and people that are new to crypto will be too late, and they will learn from it, and next time they are with us in the cycle, right? So this is going to happen, I have no doubt. And also, as a last word, you see the yellow line? Yeah, NFTs actually also had a blip. Look at that. NFTs also had a sign of life. After creeping around at 1 even for a longer time, they went up 2 times to a search level of 2. So there is someone and somewhat that is looking for NFTs at the same time as altcoins did a little leg up. And that is very important to note, that there is a sign of life in all of these markets, and they all will have their season. Now, let me know in the comments below what you think about the cycle. Are you bullish? Are you bearish? Are you stacking? And wherever you are on the world, have yourselves a great morning, evening, day, night, or afternoon, and I catch you in the next video.